In 2012, Red Bull spent over $50 million to send a skydiver 24 miles above Earth, just to watch him fall faster than the speed of sound. The stunt pulled in over 124 million YouTube views and generated billions in revenue, all to promote a can of energy drink. This is not a story about a beverage company with a secret recipe. It's about a marketing machine that turned a repackaged Thai formula into a global phenomenon using extreme stunts and relentless brand building. But this empire didn't start with skydives or billion-dollar budgets. It began with a duck farmer in Thailand who saw an opportunity where no one else was looking. The duck farmer who started it all. Chaleo Yuvadia grew up in rural Thailand, the son of Chinese immigrants, with little formal education and few resources. His early years were spent helping his family, but he eventually made his way to Bangkok, where he found work as an antibiotics salesman. That experience in pharmaceuticals gave him a practical understanding of ingredients, distribution, and what working people actually needed to get through exhausting days. In the 1960s, he founded TC Pharmaceuticals, producing over-the-counter medicines and syrups. It was a modest business, but it set the stage for something much bigger. By the mid-1970s, Thailand's energy drink market was growing fast, but most products were expensive and targeted at the wealthy. Chaleo saw an opening. The people who truly needed an energy boost, taxi drivers, construction workers, factory hands, couldn't afford the premium tonics on offer. He set out to create something different, a drink that was significantly cheaper than other Thai energy tonics, accessible to the masses, and tailored to the practical needs of laborers. In 1976, TC Pharmaceuticals introduced Krating Ding, which translates to red gaur, a wild bovine native to Southeast Asia. The formula was simple: caffeine, taurine, sugar, and B vitamins. The packaging was unpretentious, small glass bottles that could be reused, sold at a price point that undercut competitors. Distribution focused on places where workers gathered: truck stops, roadside vendors, and local markets. Instead of relying on traditional advertising, Chaleo went directly to his target audience. He handed out free samples to truck drivers and laborers, and made sure the drink was available at Thai boxing matches, where the connection between energy, endurance, and physical strength was obvious. Within 2 years, Krating Ding dominated the Thai energy drink market. The branding was deliberate. The logo, two Red Bulls charging at each other, was a symbol of power and stamina. Unlike later Western versions, Krating Ding wasn't carbonated and didn't need to be served cold. Workers often drank it straight from the bottle or diluted it with water, sometimes warm, between shifts. Chaleo's operation prioritized volume over profit margins, pushing availability so aggressively that competitors struggled to keep up. Rapid volume growth followed, and Krating Ding became a staple for anyone needing a boost to get through a long day. Chaleo's approach was practical and focused. He saw energy drinks as a tool for people who worked hard and needed to stay awake and alert. By marketing directly to laborers and drivers, he built a loyal customer base that fueled the brand's early success. TC Pharmaceuticals expanded production steadily, and Krating Ding's reputation spread across Thailand and into neighboring countries. Yet, for all its domestic success, the drink remained a local phenomenon, largely unknown outside Southeast Asia. That changed in the early 1980s when a foreign visitor arrived in Bangkok on business. The visitor was jet-lagged, exhausted, and searching for something to keep him awake. He reached for a bottle of Krating Ding, hoping for a quick fix. The effect was immediate, but what really stood out wasn't just the energy rush. It was the realization that this unassuming drink, so closely tied to working-class Thailand, might have potential far beyond its home market. This encounter would set in motion a partnership that would transform Krating Ding from a practical aid for tired workers into a global cultural icon. The next chapter of the story would be shaped by a man with a very different background, and a vision that would take the energy drink far beyond Thailand's borders. The toothpaste salesman's epiphany. Dietrich MATESCHITZ'S stepped off the plane in Bangkok in 1982, exhausted from jet lag and years of routine corporate travel. At 37, he was a marketing director for Blendex, a German toothpaste company, and had spent years in the world of consumer goods, first at Unilever, then at Blendex, selling products that promised small improvements to daily life. His resume was solid but unremarkable, marked by a slow climb through the ranks and a business degree from the University of Vienna that had taken him a decade to finish. He was not the type of executive anyone expected to disrupt the beverage industry. On this trip, he wasn't thinking about innovation. He just wanted to stay awake for meetings. In a Bangkok pharmacy, he described his symptoms and was handed a small bottle of Krating Ding. The drink was warm, non-carbonated, and came in an unassuming glass bottle, Still, within minutes, he felt his energy return. For MATESCHITZ'S, the effect was more than physical. It was a shift in mindset. He felt alert, focused, and ready to work. The experience stuck with him, not just as relief from jet lag, but as a marketer's insight into how a product could make someone feel. He paid attention to what others overlooked. In Bangkok's streets, he saw exhilarating ding everywhere. Taxi drivers, street vendors, and construction workers all relied on it to get through long shifts. He started digging into the numbers and trends. In Japan, Teisho Pharmaceuticals had built a vast business selling similar functional drinks. Teisho was Japan's largest energy drink manufacturer and a major taxpayer, a sign that the market for these products was far bigger than a niche remedy for tired workers. If energy drinks could generate that kind of economic impact in Japan, MATESCHITZ'S wondered, why couldn't they do the same elsewhere? It became clear to him that there was an untapped opportunity outside Asia. Energy drinks weren't just another beverage, they were a new category, waiting for someone to reimagine them. MATESCHITZ'S tracked down Chelio Uvidia, exhilarating ding's creator, using his industry contacts. Their first conversation revealed how differently they saw the product. Chelio viewed exhilarating ding as a practical solution for laborers, a drink with a clear function. MATESCHITZ'S saw something broader, a product that could be transformed into a symbol of energy, ambition, and lifestyle. 14 months of discussions followed. MATESCHITZ'S pushed for changes that seemed radical at the time. He wanted to carbonate the drink, making it fizzy and more appealing to Western tastes. He insisted on serving it cold, even though that meant investing in refrigeration and chilled distribution. He proposed packaging it in slim aluminum cans, a move that would triple packaging costs but signal a premium product. Each decision was aimed at making the drink stand out, not just as a functional tool, but as a statement. His research showed that Western consumers didn't buy energy drinks just for the caffeine. They bought them for how the drinks made them feel about themselves. The product would need to be aspirational. Where Chelio marketed utility, MATESCHITZ'S would market identity. This shift became the foundation of what would eventually be known as Red Bull's marketing strategy. The partnership agreement gave Chelio a majority stake and left MATESCHITZ'S in charge of markets outside Asia. Early production runs revealed a challenge. Carbonation made the drink taste even harsher. Focus groups compared it to medicine. Most companies would have softened the formula. MATESCHITZ'S saw the reaction as proof of the product's power. If people wanted it despite the taste, they valued the effect enough to pay a premium. Red Bull's path to market was anything but smooth. Retailers rejected the product, and mainstream supermarkets wouldn't stock it. MATESCHITZ'S turned this setback into strategy, targeting nightclubs and extreme sports events where the drink's image could be shaped outside the reach of traditional advertising. By the time Red Bull appeared on store shelves, it already had a reputation among early adopters. His years at Blendax had taught him the limits of conventional marketing. Toothpaste ads leaned on claims of scientific proof and endorsements. Red Bull would do the opposite. The ads were surreal, promising wings and impossible feats. The point wasn't to convince people of the ingredients, it was to sell them a feeling. By the early 1990s, MATESCHITZ'S had refined a playbook built around media ownership, sports teams, and athlete partnerships. The goal was simple: make Red Bull synonymous with high performance and risk-taking, regardless of what was in the can. The lesson he brought from toothpaste was that perception could be more valuable than product. It's easy to imagine that such an unorthodox plan would meet resistance, and it did. When MATESCHITZ'S finally unveiled his idea to beverage industry insiders, the skepticism was immediate. Launching against all odds. Launching Red Bull meant going against everything the beverage industry considered common sense. The product was a hard sell. It tasted harsher than soda, cost more per ounce than beer, and came in a slim can half the size of anything else on the shelf. Focus groups didn't just dislike it, they rejected it outright. Distributors dismissed it as a non-starter. Even investors, shown the business plan, called it a guaranteed failure. Dietrich MATESCHITZ'S didn't look for outside approval. He liquidated his own savings, putting $500,000 into the venture in 1984, and persuaded Chelio Uvidia to match him. This wasn't borrowed capital, it was their own money, placed at real risk. They formalized the partnership with Chelio holding 51% and MATESCHITZ'S 49% of Red Bull GmbH, a structure that would remain unchanged for decades. When Red Bull launched in Austria on April 1, 1987, the date almost felt like a dare. Everything about the brand's introduction was calculated to defy expectations. The can was only 8.4 ounces, noticeably smaller than the standard 12-ounce soda. That wasn't a mistake. The smaller size suggested power and intensity, something you paid extra for. The price point was deliberate. At more than double the cost of a Coke per ounce, Red Bull wasn't for everyone. It was for people who wanted what others didn't have. Distribution followed the same logic. Instead of fighting for space in supermarkets, Red Bull appeared first in ski resorts, upscale bars, and nightclubs. MATESCHIT'S personally dropped off cases at ski lodges and high-end clubs, teaching bartenders to mix it with champagne and calling the drink a yak, a nod to the original Thai logo. This created a sense of scarcity and exclusivity. Red Bull was something you discovered, not something you stumbled across in a grocery aisle. The brand's early marketing tactics looked improvised but were carefully planned. Stickers and logos started showing up overnight on student cars around Vienna. Red Bull threw parties at universities, but entry required 5 empty cans, forcing students to buy and share the drink to get in. DJs and ski instructors, targeted as influencers, received free cases with the expectation they'd be seen drinking it. Each move was designed to make the product seem like a secret among insiders, not a mass-market beverage. The formula itself drew criticism. Nutritionists warned about the high caffeine content, and Austrian authorities considered banning the drink until MATESCHIT'S agreed to add warning labels. Far from hurting the brand, the controversy attracted attention from young people drawn to anything that seemed off-limits. The negative press gave Red Bull free publicity and cemented its association with risk-taking and rebellion. Within 3 years, Red Bull had captured 70% of Austria's energy drink market, all without traditional advertising. The very things that made the industry skeptical, small cans, high prices, selective distribution, became the brand's advantages. Competitors tried to copy the formula but missed the point. Red Bull wasn't selling a drink, it was selling an identity, a sense of belonging to a group that valued energy, edge, and exclusivity. The can's design reinforced this. Its slim profile stood out in refrigerators and bar displays. The smaller volume encouraged faster consumption, which led to more frequent purchases. It can even fit perfectly in car cup holders, a detail MATESCHIT'S noticed from years spent traveling for work. Every element was intentional, aimed at the environments where people needed a quick boost: cars, clubs, and sports events. Pricing was just as strategic. At 29 Austrian shillings, about $2.50 today, Red Bull was expensive enough to signal quality, but not so high as to be out of reach for impulse buyers. The high margin paid for the unconventional marketing tactics and made it hard for competitors to undercut the brand. When a rival tried to launch a cheaper alternative, consumers associated the lower price with lower quality, and the imitation fizzled out. MATESCHIT'S background in consumer goods shaped the launch. Where toothpaste companies relied on expert endorsements, Red Bull used athletes and celebrities, but avoided obvious sponsorships. Instead, they made sure Red Bull cans appeared in the background of interviews or on the tables at exclusive events. The brand felt like an insider's secret, not something pushed by corporate marketing. By the early 1990s, Red Bull's April Fool's Day launch had become a kind of legend. What started as a punchline, selling expensive, odd-tasting caffeine water, grew into a dominant force. The skeptics weren't wrong about the product's taste or price, they just missed the power of perception. Red Bull's launch proved that, in the right hands, a brand could become more valuable than the product itself. This approach to shaping reality through branding would soon become the core of Red Bull's strategy, influencing everything from their marketing to the way they staged events. The marketing genius behind the madness. Red Bull's marketing strategy stands out for its willingness to break every rule in the industry. From the start, the company focused on controlling the message by owning the entire experience, not just sponsoring events. When Red Bull launched in Austria in 1987, it didn't rely on supermarket shelves or TV commercials. Instead, the brand targeted ski resorts, university parties, and especially nightclubs. MATESCHIT'S and his team would deliver cases directly to club DJs and bartenders, making sure the drink was seen in the hands of influencers before anyone else. The result was an underground campaign that spread by word of mouth and led to over 1 million cans sold in the first year, a rapid adoption that signaled something bigger was happening. This approach came from MATESCHIT'S marketing background in consumer goods, but he applied it in a way that ignored conventional wisdom. Red Bull didn't try to win over everyone. It built exclusivity by limiting access, making the product feel like a secret you had to be in the know to find. The brand's early years weren't about mass advertising. They were about creating a sense of belonging among a small, influential group. Once that group adopted the drink, demand grew organically. Red Bull's next leap came from its commitment to creating its own content and events. The company realized that simply sponsoring existing competitions meant fighting for attention with other brands, so they started building their own spectacles. The 2012 Stratos jump is the clearest example. Red Bull funded the entire project, hired the team, and owned every piece of footage. Felix Baumgartner's record-breaking skydive from the edge of space was a $50 million investment. but it generated an estimated $6 billion in media value and drove US sales up 7% in the following 6 months. Red Bull didn't just get a logo on a jumpsuit, they became the story. This pattern repeats across their event portfolio. Red Bull Air Race, Crashed Ice, Flood Tag, and Rampage are all events the company created and controlled from start to finish. Each one is designed for visual spectacle, with footage that circulates for years. Red Bull Media House, launched in 2007, turned the company into a full-scale content producer. They don't just make ads, they make documentaries, live broadcasts, and social media clips that keep the brand in circulation around the clock. Their content pipeline is so extensive that even media outlets license Red Bull's footage, effectively paying to advertise the brand. Athlete partnerships follow the same logic. Red Bull doesn't just pay for endorsements. Instead, they sign athletes to long-term contracts, treating them as part of the team. This gives the company control over how athletes appear in media and ensures a steady stream of authentic content. The focus is always on shared activity and lifestyle, not scripted commercials. Athletes seek out Red Bull for the exposure and support, which in turn strengthens the brand's presence in every extreme sport. The scale of Red Bull's marketing budget is unmatched. In 2025, they'll spend about $3.3 billion, roughly a quarter of their annual revenue, on marketing alone. That's 3 times what competitors like Monster Energy spend, even with similar sales figures. Red Bull treats marketing not as an expense, but as a core part of the product. Events, content, and athlete partnerships are investments that pay off for years, with highlight reels and viral clips extending the life of each campaign. Red Bull's strategy is about authenticity. Their marketing isn't an interruption, it's the content itself. Whether it's a documentary about climbers or a viral video of a failed stunt, the brand is woven into the story. Even setbacks become opportunities. When an athlete crashes or a stunt goes wrong, Red Bull turns the footage into shareable content, reinforcing their image as risk-takers who embrace every outcome. Live events also double as market research. At competitions, Red Bull tests new flavors, gathers feedback, and builds anticipation before products hit retail shelves. This direct connection with fans and athletes keeps the brand relevant and responsive. Talent scouting is built into the event structure, with unknown athletes given a chance to break out and become part of the Red Bull story. The real advantage, though, is ownership. By controlling the intellectual property for every event and piece of content, Red Bull creates a barrier competitors can't easily cross. Decades of curated stunts, athlete relationships, and original footage can't be replicated overnight. The brand's cultural legitimacy comes from years of consistent investment and bold decisions. All of this is possible because Red Bull has never treated itself as just a beverage company. The product is only one piece of the puzzle. Their real business is building a brand so compelling that people want to be part of it, regardless of what's in the can. This approach has set them apart in a crowded market. But there's an even stranger twist to the story. While Red Bull has mastered the art of marketing, the company has taken an entirely different approach to making the product itself. The manufacturing paradox. Red Bull's entire production model stands out for how little it resembles a typical beverage company. Instead of building factories or running bottling plants, Red Bull outsources almost every aspect of manufacturing. This approach isn't a side note, it's a foundational decision that shapes everything else they do. Rather than tying up capital in equipment or property, Red Bull's leadership decided early on to focus resources where they believed it mattered most, building the brand. Most of the world's Red Bull supply comes from a handful of facilities in Austria and Switzerland, operated by Roche, a longtime partner. These 2 plants, just 40 kilometers apart, handle the mixing, canning, and packaging. The arrangement is straightforward. Roche brings in the raw ingredients, follows Red Bull's precise specifications, and fills the iconic slim cans. Red Bull's own staff aren't involved in the process. Their main concern is that the packaging and product match the brand's standards. This system has been in place since the company's earliest days and remains the blueprint for every market they enter. In the US, Red Bull took the same approach but scaled it up. Their production facility in Glendale, Arizona, is a joint venture with Roche and Ball Corporation. Ball provides the pre-printed recyclable cans, Roche oversees the mixing and filling, and the finished product rolls out to distributors. Even in this major US facility, the employees technically work for Roche or Ball, not for Red Bull. The company's role is limited to overseeing brand consistency and approving packaging designs. This asset-light model allows Red Bull to expand quickly into new markets, adjust supply with demand, and avoid the risks that come with owning and operating factories. This separation offers flexibility that most competitors can't match. If a bottler faces delays or supply issues, Red Bull can shift production to another partner. During the 2021 aluminum shortage, they sourced cans from multiple suppliers across different countries, avoiding the bottlenecks that slowed down rivals. When sales fluctuate in a particular region, Red Bull simply increases or reduces orders. There's no need to idle expensive equipment or lay off staff. This agility helps them respond to market shifts in real time. Environmental considerations play a role in how Red Bull structures its manufacturing, too. The company emphasizes wall-to-wall production, where cans are filled within meters of where they're made. This method reduces transportation distances, cutting emissions compared to traditional beverage supply chains. The cans themselves are 100% recyclable, and the local focus means that both the filling and recycling processes stay close to the point of sale. By working with regional partners and minimizing unnecessary shipping, Red Bull lowers its environmental footprint without sacrificing efficiency. Quality control is managed through strict contracts and standardized processes. Every manufacturing partner must use identical equipment, follow exact mixing protocols, and submit to regular audits. Red Bull's headquarters in Austria provides detailed instructions for everything from carbonation levels to the precise amount of each ingredient. The company doesn't rely on secrecy or proprietary knowledge. Instead, it enforces consistency through tight oversight of its partners. If a problem arises, like the 2018 recall in Germany due to unauthorized sweeteners, Red Bull's solution is to tighten supply chain tracking and shift more responsibility upstream, rather than taking direct control. The company applies the same logic to distribution. Red Bull doesn't maintain its own fleet of trucks or warehouses. Instead, it partners with established local distributors who already serve convenience stores, gas stations, and sports venues. The product slots into existing delivery networks, keeping costs low and ensuring high visibility in locations where the target audience shops. Even in-store merchandising is handled by third-party firms. Red Bull avoids employing its own stockers, which saves millions in labor costs each year. Ingredient sourcing is equally hands-off. The taurine comes from German pharmaceutical suppliers, caffeine is purchased in bulk from Swiss chemical companies, and the vitamin blend is formulated in Singapore. Red Bull places orders and sets specifications, but never physically handles the raw materials. This keeps the company lean and focused on what it does best, maintaining the brand and driving demand. There are drawbacks to this model. Outsourcing means less direct control over labor conditions and environmental practices at partner facilities. Mistakes or quality lapses can take longer to detect, since Red Bull isn't present on the production floor. Critics argue that this separation leads to a lack of accountability. Still, the benefits, speed, flexibility, and cost savings have outweighed the risks so far. Red Bull's gross margins remain among the highest in the industry, freeing up resources for the massive marketing campaigns that fuel its growth. This manufacturing paradox, outsourcing almost everything while maintaining tight control over the brand, has become one of Red Bull's greatest strengths. The company's physical product is almost generic. The real value is in the perception built around it. Everything Red Bull does is designed to keep the brand front and center, while the operational details remain in the background. This relentless focus on brand extends beyond cans and factories. It shapes where Red Bull shows up, who carries their logo, and how the company embeds itself in the cultural fabric of its audience. The sports empire strategy. Red Bull's approach to sports isn't about putting logos on uniforms or sponsoring tournaments. Instead, they buy the teams themselves. This strategy turns every match, race, or event into a direct extension of the brand. Red Bull now owns teams across Formula 1, soccer, ice hockey, and esports. Each team operates as a marketing engine, building emotional ties with fans and ensuring the brand appears in headlines, highlight reels, and global broadcasts. The New York Red Bulls are a clear example. Red Bull bought the club for $25 million in 2006. Today, the team is valued at $300 million. The stadium in New Jersey is covered in Red Bull branding, but the more important exposure happens on television and social media. Every match puts the Red Bull name in front of millions of viewers across 150 countries. The team's annual losses are outweighed by the brand visibility and the data gathered from fans, tickets, and merchandise. This isn't a typical investment. It's a way to make Red Bull part of the conversation every time someone follows US soccer. Formula 1 is even more effective for global reach. Red Bull Racing has become one of the sport's dominant teams, collecting multiple constructors and drivers' championships. When their drivers stand on the podium, the Red Bull logo is front and center, broadcast to hundreds of millions. The impact isn't just about winning. Every practice session, qualifying lap, and press conference keeps Red Bull in the spotlight. The Stratos project alone, a Red Bull-branded space jump, generated $6 billion in media value, far beyond what traditional advertising could deliver. These sports properties may not always turn a profit on their own, but they create lasting associations between Red Bull and high performance. Red Bull's expansion doesn't stop with traditional sports. The company has moved aggressively into esports, fielding teams in games like League of Legends and Valorant. They sponsor tournaments, run gaming houses, and even launched a line of energy drinks targeted at streamers. This gives them direct access to a younger audience that is often immune to conventional advertising. Their esports content, from behind-the-scenes streams to player interviews, becomes part of the brand's ongoing story. Extreme and niche sports are another piece of the strategy. Red Bull owns and operates events like Red Bull Air Race, Cliff Diving, and Rampage. These aren't just sponsorships, they're full productions, designed to showcase athletes pushing limits. Red Bull controls the broadcast rights, the event branding, and the narrative. Even in less mainstream arenas, such as drone racing or parkour, Red Bull's presence is unmistakable. By owning the events, they ensure that every highlight, every viral clip, and every interview carries their name. The company's approach to athletes is different from most sponsors. Red Bull signs athletes to long-term partnerships and provides them with media support, training resources, and content production. The focus is on building stories around these individuals, whether they're winning championships or recovering from setbacks. When an athlete faces adversity, Red Bull often turns that journey into a documentary or campaign, deepening the emotional bond with fans. The result is a stable of athletes who are more than endorsers. They become central characters in the Red Bull narrative. Red Bull's sports empire also includes a grassroots dimension. The company sponsors hundreds of amateur athletes and local events around the world. Sometimes the support is as simple as free product or branded gear. These partnerships create authentic local marketing touchpoints that can't be replicated by national campaigns. A breakdancer in Seoul or a surfer in Cape Town wearing a Red Bull cap in a viral video does more for the brand than a billboard could. The economics of stadiums and venues add another layer. Red Bull Arena in New Jersey hosts concerts and festivals, introducing new audiences to the brand. Data from ticket sales and concessions feeds back into Red Bull's marketing system, helping them refine their approach. Even the food stands serve as testing grounds for new products and flavors. Retired athletes often stay within the Red Bull ecosystem, working as coaches, consultants, or content creators. This keeps their stories alive and maintains connections with longtime fans. The scouting network, meanwhile, searches globally for new talent, sometimes signing athletes before they're well known, making their rise part of Red Bull's story from the beginning. Red Bull's teams and events often operate at a financial loss, but the return comes in brand equity and media exposure. The value isn't measured on a balance sheet. It's seen in the millions who associate Red Bull with action, achievement, and a certain kind of fearless lifestyle. All of this activity generates a steady stream of moments, stories, and footage. These aren't just byproducts, they're the raw material for something even bigger. The content machine. Red Bull's brand presence extends far beyond cans or stadiums. At the heart of their operation is Red Bull Media House, a full-scale content studio that produces everything from documentaries to live sports broadcasts, scripted series, and even educational programming. This isn't a side project, it's a core business function, designed to keep the brand front and center without ever relying on traditional advertising. Red Bull Media House produces thousands of pieces of content every year, tailored to a global audience. Their teams shoot on location across continents, capturing everything from snowboarding in the Alps to surfing remote breaks. The output covers a wide spectrum: feature-length documentaries, behind-the-scenes athlete profiles, highlight reels, and short-form clips optimized for social media. In a typical year, they generate over 5,000 unique content pieces, each crafted to reinforce the brand's connection to action, adventure, and achievement. The company's approach to content is deliberate. Rather than overt product placement, the focus is on stories, athletes overcoming setbacks, explorers pushing physical limits, and communities built around shared passions. Documentaries form a major part of this strategy. Red Bull produces dozens each year, often spotlighting lesser-known sports or personal journeys instead of championship wins. A film about high-altitude slacklining or a surfer's search for undiscovered waves might only feature the product in the background, but the brand's values are embedded in every frame. These films air first on Red Bull TV, then find new life on streaming platforms and in syndication, drawing millions of views. Live event broadcasting is another cornerstone. Red Bull TV streams sports most networks ignore: downhill mountain biking, freestyle motocross, cliff diving, and even chess boxing. The production quality rivals major sports channels, with multiple camera angles, expert commentators, and real-time data overlays. During events like the Cliff Diving World Series, viewers can choose their own camera perspectives through the app, deepening engagement and providing a steady stream of audience data. This approach transforms niche competitions into global spectacles, elevating both the athletes and the brand. The Red Bulletin, their monthly magazine, extends the content ecosystem into print. Distributed through partnerships with major newspapers and reaching millions of subscribers, the magazine features long-form journalism, photo essays, and adventure travel stories. Product mentions are rare and subtle, akin in the background of a base camp photo or a logo on an athlete's gear. The focus remains on storytelling, with the brand woven into the narrative rather than forced into it. Music content is another layer. The Red Bull Music Academy supports emerging artists by providing studio space in cities like Berlin and New York. Musicians gain access to world-class facilities, while Red Bull builds cultural relevance and a presence in creative communities. Concerts and sessions are recorded and distributed online, with live streams drawing large audiences. These music projects reinforce the brand's association with innovation and self-expression. Red Bull's digital infrastructure is extensive. The company operates production studios on several continents and manages a massive archive of sports footage, athlete interviews, and event coverage. This footage is carefully cataloged and licensed to media outlets, with clips appearing in documentaries, TV shows, and even educational materials. Licensing not only generates revenue, but ensures the Red Bull logo remains visible across platforms. Their proprietary software allows editors to tag and access footage quickly, supporting rapid turnaround for breaking news or viral moments. Athletes themselves play a role in content creation. Many are required to document their training, travels, and competitions using Red Bull-provided equipment. These raw clips are edited by in-house teams into vlogs, tutorials, and mini-documentaries. A snowboarder's trick progression video or a climber's expedition diary becomes both entertainment and subtle brand messaging. Even failed stunts or crashes are repurposed for series that analyze technique and risk, further embedding the brand in the culture of sport. Educational content broadens Red Bull's reach. The Academy video series explains scientific concepts through the lens of sports, how physics shapes a BMX trick, or why hydration matters at altitude. These videos are used in classrooms in multiple countries, introducing the brand to students long before they become consumers. Podcasts and long-form interviews add another layer, featuring athletes discussing their experiences and routines, with product mentions woven in naturally. Content distribution is global and multi-channel. Red Bull Media House syndicates documentaries to streaming services, licenses footage to airlines and schools, and maintains a robust presence on its own app and website. The app serves as a central hub, offering live streams, personalized recommendations, and skill tutorials. The algorithm adapts to user interests, keeping fans engaged for extended sessions and pushing notifications for new achievements or events. Red Bull's content operation doesn't just support the brand, it defines it. By controlling every aspect of production and distribution, the company ensures its message is consistent and its audience remains engaged. The result is a media presence that rivals traditional networks, positioning Red Bull as more than just a beverage, it's a cultural force. The scale and sophistication of this strategy set the stage for how Red Bull approaches every new audience. Their next move targets a group where influence spreads fast and habits last for years. The campus conquest. Red Bull's campus strategy didn't rely on waiting for students to discover the brand on their own. Instead, the company sent teams directly to colleges, armed with cases of energy drinks and stacks of branded stickers. Their approach was calculated. Red Bull's logo appeared on skateboards, laptops, and bathroom stalls in high-traffic campus areas, all mapped out in advance. These guerrilla tactics weren't random acts of vandalism. Each placement was chosen to maximize exposure and spark curiosity among students. Fraternity and sorority houses became early distribution points. Red Bull reps would drop off free cases for parties, but with a catch: the drinks had to be served at room temperature. This was intentional, as it made the sugar content more noticeable and fixed the taste in students' minds. The result was a new kind of party staple. Red Bull mixed with vodka took off so quickly that bartenders started serving it by name, even though the company never officially promoted the combination. Exclusivity played a central role. Rather than flooding campuses with product, Red Bull delivered limited quantities to select student groups. Debate teams received crates before tournaments, and study groups found surprise deliveries during finals week. This manufactured scarcity fueled demand. When athletes and honor students were seen with Red Bull, it turned the drink into a status symbol, making other students eager to get their hands on it. Sticker campaigns became a competitive sport of their own. Red Bull hired local students as campus ambassadors, incentivizing them to cover dorms and lecture halls with the brand's logo. The most successful ambassadors earned trips to Red Bull events, driving friendly rivalry over who could achieve the most creative placements. Some of these stickers remain embedded in campus infrastructure years later, a testament to the campaign's reach. The company's parties functioned as real-world experiments. Red Bull sponsored underground raves and warehouse events near college campuses, providing sound and lighting in exchange for total control over the branding. Professional photographers captured the scene, and the resulting images appeared in Red Bull's advertising, reinforcing the idea that the brand was synonymous with authentic student experiences. Those who attended these events often became lifelong customers, associating Red Bull with formative college memories. Red Bull's marketing extended to campus media. They placed full-page ads in student newspapers, designed to mimic editorial content. Articles with headlines like "How Students Stay Alert During Finals" would mention Red Bull only in the last lines, blending in with genuine reporting and lending the brand an air of credibility. Many campus editors ran these stories without realizing they were sponsored, giving Red Bull a foothold in student press. Athletics provided another entry point. The company supplied free drinks to training rooms, positioning Red Bull as a performance enhancer rather than just another soft drink. Coaches and trainers, often unaware of the broader campaign, began recommending Red Bull during timeouts. This shifted the drink's reputation from party fuel to a legitimate tool for athletes, a repositioning that broadened its appeal. The impact of these tactics lasted well beyond graduation. Students who adopted Red Bull as their go-to drink during college continued to buy it as adults, driven by nostalgia and habit. Market research shows that those exposed to Red Bull on campus remain more loyal to the brand years later, even as competitors try to win them over with similar products. In recent years, Red Bull has adapted these strategies for the digital age. Campus ambassadors now run TikTok challenges and social campaigns, encouraging students to post athletic feats or daily routines featuring the drink. The Red Bull Balance Test, hashtag alone, has drawn over 1 billion views. Influencer partnerships have replaced some of the old sticker teams, with popular student creators sharing branded content in exchange for merchandise and event access. These posts blend seamlessly into student life, making Red Bull part of the college experience without relying on traditional advertising. Virtual events have also become a mainstay. During finals week, Red Bull sponsors online study sessions with appearances from sponsored athletes. Students who attend receive digital badges they can add to their profiles, merging academic achievement with brand association. Bookstore partnerships put Red Bull's logo on notebooks and laptop sleeves, while branded school supplies are sold at cost to ensure daily visibility. Academic partnerships add another layer of legitimacy. Red Bull funds research into cognitive performance at select universities, and while these studies rarely mention the product directly, they often appear in campus health newsletters, alongside images of Red Bull cans. The company also targets professors, offering free drinks for early morning lectures and subtly embedding the brand in discussions about productivity. Alumni engagement keeps the cycle going. Former campus ambassadors receive exclusive invites to Red Bull events long after graduation, and some go on to influence beverage choices in their workplaces, carrying their loyalty into new environments. Red Bull's campus playbook is about more than just visibility. By embedding the brand into the daily rituals and milestones of student life, they've created a self-perpetuating cycle of demand. The tactics have shifted from stickers to social media, but the principle remains unchanged. Red Bull becomes part of the student experience itself. The result is a customer base that stays loyal long after they leave campus, ensuring the brand's presence endures through every phase of adulthood. This deep integration into youth culture has set the stage for Red Bull's next move, one that leverages not just brand loyalty, but also cutting-edge innovation and high-speed spectacle. The Formula One play. Red Bull's Formula One involvement is more than a marketing play. It's a deliberate fusion of engineering, product development, and global exposure. Red Bull Racing and Scuderia AlphaTauri operate as high-speed laboratories, pushing technical boundaries that ripple out far beyond the racetrack. Every season, these teams experiment with new materials, processes, and systems under extreme conditions, and the lessons learned often shape the energy drink business in subtle but measurable ways. Inside the Milton Keynes facility, engineers analyze data from races to solve problems that aren't limited to performance on the track. The The same carbon fiber innovations that lighten a chassis also reinforce Red Bull's aluminum cans, making them more resistant to dents during shipping. Computational fluid dynamics, originally developed to perfect a rear wing, now models how liquid flows through redesigned can openings. Even the vibration patterns experienced by suspension systems during a race have influenced the design of can tabs, making them easier to open under stress. The crossover between racing and product design is intentional. Red Bull's wind tunnels, built for aerodynamic testing, are also used to analyze airflow over can exteriors. Subtle grooves on the latest cans, modeled after wing dimples, reduce turbulence when drinking on the move. This kind of rapid innovation cycle is unique. A tweak tested at a Grand Prix might show up on supermarket shelves just months later. Scuderia AlphaTauri serves as Red Bull's experimental branch. Technologies too risky for the flagship team are tested here, and even failed experiments yield useful data. A radical sidepod design that didn't deliver on track inspired a more ergonomic can shape. When a new suspension material shattered during practice, the resulting analysis improved impact resistance for vending machine distribution. Nothing goes to waste. Every setback is mined for insights that can be applied elsewhere. Pit stop efficiency is another area of crossover. Red Bull's record-breaking 1.82-second tire chain wasn't just a racing milestone. It informed the automation of consorting and bottling plants, cutting changeover times by more than a third. Motion capture studies of pit crew mechanics have been used to optimize worker ergonomics in partner factories, showing how racing precision can improve manufacturing. Driver performance data also feeds into product development. Sensors that track hydration and reaction times for drivers like Max Verstappen help establish baselines for new drink formulas. The team's nutritionists have provided input on how rapidly different sugar compounds are absorbed under stress, which directly influence the creation of Red Bull's energy shots. These shots, introduced in 2012, were designed to fit inside a racing suit pocket, offering a fast-acting boost without the bulk of a can. Later, Red Bull launched energy powders in 2015, catering to athletes and travelers who need portable options. Both products were tested and refined using data from the racing teams, ensuring they met real demands under pressure. Red Bull's dual-team structure is a strategic advantage. AlphaTauri can trial new concepts without the risk of compromising championship points, and anything that works can be quickly adopted by Red Bull Racing or adapted for the beverage business. This arrangement also helps Red Bull navigate Formula One's strict testing limits, as knowledge and technology flow between teams in ways that other organizations can't easily replicate. The integration goes even deeper. Onboard computers collect streams of data that have surprising applications. Temperature sensors, originally meant for engine monitoring, now help optimize how Red Bull is stored and shipped to preserve carbonation. Vibration analysis informs shelf-stacking guidelines to prevent flavor degradation. Algorithms developed to predict tire wear are now used to optimize delivery routes, minimizing agitation during transport. Red Bull's approach to sponsorship in F1 includes technical partnerships that feed directly into their consumer products. Brake suppliers, for example, have collaborated on developing more puncture-resistant can coatings, borrowing from high-temperature friction materials used on the track. When magnesium wheel nuts debuted on Red Bull Racing's cars, the same alloy research led to lighter shipping pallets, reducing annual fuel costs for distribution. Personnel regularly rotate between the racing and beverage divisions. An engineer might spend months working on chassis development, then shift to can design, bringing fresh insights to both fields. This circulation prevents siloed thinking and accelerates the transfer of innovation. The global F1 calendar offers built-in product testing opportunities. Each race location presents unique climate challenges: Singapore's humidity, Saudi Arabia's heat, or Silverstone's chill. Red Bull monitors how cans perform in these environments and adjusts formulas or packaging as needed. Distributor meetings often coincide with race weekends, making business and engineering conversations part of the same routine. Even the financial side is optimized. Formula One's budget cap, introduced in 2021, limits team spending but allows for creative allocation of shared R&D projects. Red Bull classifies certain innovations as beverage expenses, maximizing both racing performance and product development while staying within the rules. At the end of the day, Formula One serves as Red Bull's ultimate test lab. Every product that survives a racing season, subjected to G-forces, heat, and vibration, carries a kind of validation that few competitors can claim. The result is a cycle where the energy drink and the racing team push each other forward, each improvement feeding the other. This relentless focus on innovation and integration has helped Red Bull maintain a lead not just on the racetrack, but also in shaping how the brand connects with new audiences. As the landscape of competition continues to evolve, Red Bull's next frontier is already in play. The esports invasion. Red Bull's entry into esports came early, well before most brands recognized the potential of competitive gaming. In 2006, they organized a professional StarCraft tournament in Seoul, offering prize money that rivaled established sports events. The investment was modest compared to their spending in other arenas, but it gave Red Bull an early foothold in a culture where gaming was already mainstream. This move put them on the radar of a new generation of fans who didn't watch traditional sports but spent hours online. The company's approach to esports sponsorship is different from the industry standard. Rather than simply placing logos on team jerseys, Red Bull invests in infrastructure. They build gaming houses, dedicated spaces where sponsored players live, practice, and produce content. These facilities double as production studios, with cameras capturing daily routines, scrimmages, and downtime. In Tokyo, a Red Bull gaming house streams nearly around the clock, drawing hundreds of thousands of viewers who see the brand integrated into every aspect of team life. Content creation is built into every sponsorship deal. Players on teams like Team Liquid are required to stream regularly while wearing Red Bull gear, and professional editors assemble highlight reels for social media and YouTube. A single player's training series or behind-the-scenes documentary can attract more views than a conventional TV ad campaign. The focus is on authenticity, showing the grind, setbacks, and breakthroughs that define the esports experience. Red Bull adapts its product line for digital athletes. The gamer edition of their energy drink contains ingredients like L-theanine, designed to help players stay alert without the jitteriness that comes from high caffeine doses. The can itself is tweaked for the gaming environment. A wider opening reduces spills, a request that came directly from pro players who lost matches to sticky keyboards. These small changes show how Red Bull tailors its offerings based on feedback from the gaming community. Tournaments are central to the strategy. Red Bull's Solo Q Series invites amateur players to compete against professionals, creating storylines that attract both hardcore fans and newcomers. The company archives dramatic upsets and unexpected victories, generating content that remains relevant for years. One underdog win in a League of Legends event continues to draw hundreds of thousands of views long after the match ended. Data collection is another layer. During competitions, Red Bull uses proprietary software to monitor player biometrics, heart rate, reaction time, even blink frequency. This information informs not just esports training, but also the formulation of new products. By analyzing how different caffeine levels affect performance, Red Bull can fine-tune their drinks to meet the specific needs of gamers. The brand's content machine never stops. Red Bull runs dedicated esports channels that broadcast not just matches, but documentaries and educational content. A series on player recovery after injury, for example, can outperform live tournament streams in terms of viewer retention. Tutorials featuring sponsored players attract millions of aspiring gamers, each video subtly reinforcing the brand without overt advertising. Monetizing the gaming lifestyle goes beyond drinks. Red Bull collaborates with hardware brands to sell branded accessories, chairs, mouse pads, and glasses designed for long sessions. Limited edition drops often sell out quickly, demonstrating the brand's influence within the community. These products serve as both revenue streams and constant reminders of the Red Bull identity. Grassroots initiatives are just as important. Red Bull scouts rising talent in internet cafes and local tournaments, offering sponsorships and equipment to promising players. By investing in unknowns, they build long-term relationships that pay off when these players reach the top. Even losses become content. Compilations of dramatic defeats, set to music, generate millions of views and humanize the athletes. Red Bull also integrates itself into the platforms where gamers spend their time. The company sponsors popular Twitch channels, supports gaming podcasts, and operates custom servers in games like Minecraft and CS:GO. Players encounter Red Bull branding within the game worlds themselves, making the brand a natural part of the gaming experience. Their approach adapts to local markets. In South Korea, Red Bull focuses on StarCraft and League of Legends, while in Brazil, the emphasis shifts to mobile titles. Each region gets tailored content and events, all feeding into a global ecosystem of brand engagement. The numbers show the impact. Red Bull's gaming channels rack up millions of hours watched each month, with a core audience of young adults, the demographic most likely to buy energy drinks. The viral reach of their content is clear. The Stratos jump, for example, generated over 8 million views on gaming platforms when the footage resurfaced in 2023, showing how a single event can keep delivering value years after it happened. Red Bull's integration into gaming is so complete that many players don't realize how much of their environment the brand touches. The company's influence spans competitions, hardware, content, and even the virtual goods that players use to personalize their avatars. What sets Red Bull apart is the way it embeds itself into daily routines, making the drink and the brand part of the fabric of gaming life. This deep level of involvement isn't limited to screens or streams. For Red Bull, the next step is to turn digital engagement into real-world experience, offering fans more than just a taste of the action. The travel agency side hustle. Red Bull's relationship with its audience extends beyond drinks, content, and events. The company has experimented with hospitality by organizing athlete-led retreats and curated experiences for fans. These aren't standard vacation packages. They're carefully constructed opportunities for enthusiasts to train alongside Red Bull-sponsored athletes in real-world settings. The focus is on direct participation, not just spectating from the sidelines. The earliest versions of these retreats began as exclusive gatherings for a select group of fans and aspiring athletes. Red Bull invited participants to join professional snowboarders on the slopes of Switzerland or to attend small group workshops with motocross riders. These events were designed to be immersive, giving guests hands-on coaching and behind-the-scenes access to the routines that define elite performance. The goal wasn't to turn attendees into professionals, but to let them experience the training, discipline, and camaraderie that exist within Red Bull's athlete network. Over time, these gatherings became more structured. Red Bull formalized the process, offering a limited number of spots for fans to participate in activities like mountain biking, surfing, or climbing under the supervision of their athletes. Each event was tailored to the skill level of the group, with professionals acting as both instructors and guides. The company managed logistics, safety protocols, and equipment, ensuring that every detail aligned with the standards set by their sports teams and event operations. Red Bull's approach to these experiences is rooted in exclusivity and authenticity. The retreats are rarely advertised through traditional channels. Instead, invitations circulate within Red Bull's existing fan communities, athlete networks, and through word of mouth. This keeps demand high and reinforces the brand's reputation for curating unique, hard-to-access opportunities. For many, being selected to attend one of these retreats feels like gaining entry to an insider's club. Documentation is built into the experience. Red Bull provides professional photographers and videographers to capture each moment, from early morning training sessions to post-activity gatherings. Participants receive edited footage and images, which often show up on their social media feeds. These posts function as organic marketing, as attendees share their experiences with friends and followers, extending Red Bull's reach without paid advertising. The retreats also serve a practical purpose for Red Bull. By observing how amateurs interact with their athletes and attempt new skills, the company gathers valuable insights into product use, training methods, and brand perception. Feedback collected during these events often informs the development of future marketing campaigns or influences the design of new gear and merchandise. In this way, the retreats double as informal focus groups, blending hospitality with research. Safety is a priority at every gathering. Red Bull coordinates with medical professionals and local experts to oversee activities, and all equipment is maintained to the same standards as in their sponsored events. This attention to detail demonstrates the company's commitment not just to spectacle, but to the well-being of its community. Corporate groups have also become a part of this model. Companies book Red Bull athlete experiences as team-building exercises, trading conference rooms for outdoor challenges. These sessions focus on problem-solving, resilience, and communication, drawing on the same principles that drive Red Bull's sports teams. The brand's involvement ensures a level of energy and engagement that typical retreats can't match. The merchandise associated with these experiences is subtle but effective. Each participant receives limited edition apparel or gear that isn't available elsewhere, turning a simple souvenir into a status symbol. These items often feature event-specific designs or athlete autographs, making them reminders of the experience and conversation starters long after the retreat ends. Insurance and logistics are handled quietly in the background. Red Bull works with established partners to provide coverage for high-risk activities and manages backup plans for weather or unexpected challenges. The company's experience running global sports events translates smoothly into the hospitality space, allowing them to maintain high standards even in unpredictable environments. Red Bull's athlete retreats and curated experiences are less about selling a product and more about reinforcing an identity. They give fans a way to participate directly in the brand's world, building loyalty through shared adventure and personal connection. The company's strategy is to make every touchpoint, whether a drink, an event, or an experience, feel like a step deeper into the Red Bull community. As these retreats and athlete-led gatherings continue to evolve, Red Bull's focus remains on cultivating a sense of belonging. The next layer of this approach appears not in the events themselves, but in the everyday items fans take home, objects that quietly extend the brand's presence into daily life. The clothing line experiment. Red Bull's foray into branded clothing started with a straightforward idea: turn every fan and athlete into a visible extension of the brand. The earliest pieces were basic, hats and t-shirts handed out to sponsored athletes and event staff in the mid-2000s. These weren't designed to compete with fashion labels. They were functional, immediately recognizable, and served a single purpose: to make the Red Bull logo part of everyday life. Over time, this approach evolved into a merchandising strategy that revolves around limited edition releases, athlete-driven design, and controlled scarcity. The clothing isn't available in traditional retail stores. Instead, Red Bull sells most apparel exclusively at their events or through their own online channels. Attendees at major competitions or music festivals might find a pop-up shop with a short run of jackets, shirts, or hats, each one tied to the specific event. Once a batch sells out, it's rarely restocked. This model creates urgency and positions the items as collectibles rather than mass-market products. The effect is clear. People line up for the chance to buy a hoodie or cap, not because of the materials or the cut, but because the item signals direct participation in the Red Bull world. Collaborations with other brands add another layer. Red Bull has partnered with well-known streetwear labels and sportswear companies for limited runs, often tied to high-profile events or athlete milestones. These collaborations are announced with little warning and typically sell out within hours. The appeal isn't about luxury or exclusivity in the traditional sense. It's about owning a piece of the moment, a wearable reminder of a competition, a concert, or a record-breaking stunt. Athlete input shapes much of the design. Red Bull works directly with snowboarders, motocross riders, and other sponsored athletes to create apparel that fits their needs. Gloves with touchscreen-compatible fingertips, jackets with reinforced elbows, and moisture-wicking shirts are all the result of feedback from those using the products in real conditions. These features aren't just for show. They reflect the environments where Red Bull's audience spends time: ski slopes, skate parks, or climbing gyms. The result is a line of apparel that's practical and purpose-built, with details that appeal to the brand's core fans. Branding is present but rarely overwhelming. The Red Bull logo might appear as a small patch, embroidery, or even as a subtle tag inside the garment. The color palette, often blue, silver, and red, echoes the familiar design of the cans and the broader visual identity of the company. This understated approach signals to others that the wearer is part of the Red Bull community without shouting it from across the room. It's a kind of insider language, where those who recognize the branding know what it represents. Limited availability is a key part of the strategy. Red Bull keeps production runs small and releases new designs only a few times each year. This scarcity drives demand and creates a secondary market where older items become sought-after collectibles. Rare jackets or hats from early events can fetch high prices online, and collectors track down specific releases to complete their sets. The buzz around each drop keeps the brand in conversation, even among those who don't drink the product. The apparel line includes items for all ages, with children's sizes mirroring adult versions. Parents often buy matching gear for their kids, reinforcing brand identity from a young age. The company pays attention to durability and care, providing clear instructions so that each piece lasts as long as possible. The longer a jacket or shirt is worn, the more impressions it generates for the brand. Red Bull's collaborations with athletes and other brands sometimes extend to customization at events. Attendees can have their names or initials embroidered onto their gear, mirroring the personalization seen on athlete uniforms. This small touch increases the likelihood that the clothing will be worn often, turning each item into a personal connection to the brand's larger story. The clothing line isn't designed to drive profit in the way traditional apparel businesses do. Manufacturing costs are higher than average, and the company doesn't chase volume sales. Instead, every piece serves as mobile advertising, a conversation starter, and a badge of belonging. Each time someone wears a Red Bull hoodie or cap, they reinforce the brand's presence in new settings, on city streets, in gyms, or at local events. Red Bull's approach to merchandise is consistent with their overall philosophy. The product is less about fashion and more about reinforcing identity and community. The limited releases, athlete involvement, and event-based distribution all build a sense of belonging that goes beyond the logo. This strategy keeps the brand visible and relevant, not just during major events, but in the routines of everyday life. As Red Bull continues to refine its presence through apparel and collaborations, the company's focus on practical innovation remains. The next step in their evolution addresses the need for convenience and adaptability, responding to how people consume energy in fast-paced, unpredictable environments. The mobile energy revolution. Red Bull's shift toward mobile energy formats began with a straightforward challenge. Athletes needed a way to refuel on the move. In 2012, after noticing that cans were too bulky for racing suits and impractical for quick access during competition, Red Bull introduced its first energy shot. These 2.5-ounce vials packed the same active ingredients as the original drink, but in a compact form that clipped easily to gear or fit in a pocket. What started as a practical fix for extreme sports quickly found an audience beyond athletes. The appeal of these shots was immediate. Hospital workers, traders, and anyone who needed a burst of energy without the bulk of a can adopted the new format. Gym-goers started using them for quick boosts mid-workout, and travelers found them convenient for long flights. The energy shots solved a set of problems that the standard drink couldn't address: portability, discretion, and speed. Red Bull expanded the lineup to include different formulas, each targeting a specific need, whether it was sharper focus or longer-lasting stamina. The smaller size also made the product less conspicuous, which appealed to professionals who wanted to avoid the stigma, sometimes attached to energy drinks in office settings. By 2018, Red Bull took the next step with the launch of energy powders. Sold in single-use sticks, the powders dissolved easily in water bottles, making them ideal for outdoor enthusiasts, athletes, and anyone on the go. The new format opened up a range of possibilities. You could toss a few sticks in a backpack, keep them in a desk drawer, or stash them in a glove compartment. For hikers, cyclists, and climbers, the ability to prepare a drink anywhere, without worrying about refrigeration or the weight of cans, was a game changer. Powders also changed how people interacted with the brand. Mixing the drink became a small ritual, a way to personalize the dose and feel more involved in the process. Some users adjusted the strength by adding more or less powder, tailoring the experience to their own needs. This flexibility appealed to people who saw energy management as part of their athletic or daily routine. The stick packs themselves became a subtle extension of the brand, each one printed with the familiar Red Bull logo, and sometimes featuring QR codes linking to athlete stories or training tips. The adoption of shots and powders didn't replace the original can. It expanded the occasions when people could use Red Bull. Morning commuters might still grab a can at home, but keep a shot for the afternoon slump at work. Outdoor athletes could carry powders for long excursions where weight and space mattered. This incremental approach grew Red Bull's market share without cannibalizing existing sales. Research showed that customers who bought multiple formats tended to spend more overall, often matching the product to their specific activity or environment. Distribution adapted alongside the new formats. Shots fit into vending machines that were too small for cans, and powders could be displayed at checkout counters without refrigeration. Hotels started stocking shots in minibars, and gyms offered powders at the front desk. The smaller packaging lowered shipping costs and extended shelf life, while also reducing the environmental footprint compared to transporting and refrigerating cans. Red Bull estimated that the new formats cut carbon emissions from distribution by a significant margin, aligning with growing consumer interest in sustainability. Flavor remained a key part of the strategy. Despite the smaller size and concentrated formulas, Red Bull maintained the taste profile that made the original drink recognizable. Shots and powders came in classic, tropical, and Arctic flavors, ensuring consistency across the product line. This familiarity helped retain loyal customers while attracting new ones who wanted options beyond the standard can. Athlete partnerships continued to play a role in the rollout. Marathon runners, climbers, and esports competitors showcased how they used the different formats in their routines, lending credibility to the product's performance claims. These endorsements weren't limited to advertisements. They appeared in training videos, social posts, and interviews, subtly reinforcing the idea that Red Bull's mobile formats fit seamlessly into high-performance lifestyles. The mobile energy revolution didn't just reflect a change in packaging. It marked a shift in how energy drinks fit into people's lives, adapting to new routines, environments, and expectations. By making energy portable, customizable, and discreet, Red Bull kept its brand relevant in a world that moves faster every year. With energy now available in formats that go anywhere, Red Bull's next ambition looks beyond even the most remote corners of Earth. The company's appetite for high-profile stunts and boundary-pushing marketing is about to reach a new level. The space marketing frontier. Red Bull's most ambitious marketing project didn't happen at ground level. In 2012, they orchestrated the Stratos jump, a mission that sent Austrian skydiver Felix Baumgartner 24 miles above Earth in a pressurized capsule, lifted by a helium balloon. The goal was straightforward: break the record for the highest skydive, and in the process, break the sound barrier with nothing but a human body. Red Bull spent over $50 million to make it happen, assembling a team of engineers, medical experts, and former astronauts to manage the risks and logistics. The preparation took 7 years, including multiple test jumps and technical rehearsals to ensure everything worked perfectly at the edge of space. On the day of the jump, millions watched as Baumgartner stepped out of his capsule and plunged toward the New Mexico desert. The moment he leapt, he reached supersonic speeds, becoming the first person to break the sound barrier in freefall. The entire event was broadcast live, with cameras capturing every second from inside the capsule, on the ground, and from the air. The Red Bull logo was visible in every shot on Baumgartner's suit on the capsule and in the broadcast overlays. The spectacle drew global attention, with over 124 million YouTube views on the official video alone, making it one of the most watched branded events in internet history. The Stratos project wasn't just about breaking records. It was a calculated move to associate Red Bull with the limits of human achievement and technological innovation. The event generated an estimated $6 billion in media value, according to industry analysts, and delivered a surge in sales and brand awareness that no traditional advertising campaign could match. The footage from the jump continues to circulate, used in everything from highlight reels to documentaries, ensuring that Red Bull's brand remains linked to one of the most memorable stunts ever attempted. What set Stratos apart was the way Red Bull positioned itself as more than a sponsor. The company didn't just put its logo on the project, they owned every aspect of the event, from the engineering to the media rights. Red Bull Media House produced all the content, controlling how the story was told and where it appeared. This meant that every news outlet, sports channel, and social media account covering the jump had to use Red Bull's official footage, reinforcing the brand's presence with each replay. The company's approach to content ownership turned a single event into a long-term asset, with licensing and syndication generating value for years after the original broadcast. The technical challenges of Stratos also fed directly into Red Bull's product development and marketing. The capsule's insulation, the suit's materials, and the camera systems all required new solutions, some of which found their way into Red Bull's consumer products and limited edition packaging. The company drew a direct line between the extreme conditions faced by Baumgartner and the durability of its own cans, using the story to reinforce the brand's image of toughness and reliability. Red Bull's investment in Stratos demonstrated a unique understanding of how spectacle can shape perception. By staging an event that captured the world's attention, they established themselves as a brand willing to pursue the extraordinary, not just in sports, but in human endeavor. The project blurred the line between marketing, science, and entertainment, setting a new standard for what branded content could achieve. The ripple effects of Stratos continue to influence Red Bull's strategy. The company uses the event as a template for future campaigns, focusing on projects that combine high-risk, technical complexity, and compelling storytelling. The lesson is clear: when a brand owns the moment, it owns the narrative. Red Bull's success in space marketing isn't about the immediate spike in sales. It's about embedding the brand into the story of human progress, so that every discussion of pushing boundaries brings their name to mind. This approach doesn't end with a single event. Red Bull applies the same playbook across every arena it enters, embedding itself in sports, music, technology, and beyond. The result is a brand that feels inseparable from the culture it helps create. The Global Domination Playbook. Red Bull's global strategy relies on a playbook that few companies have managed to replicate. The company doesn't just enter new markets or industries, it builds entire ecosystems around its brand, then makes itself indispensable within them. This approach is visible across every layer of Red Bull's operations, from the way it funds events to how it produces and distributes content. The company's financial discipline is striking. With projected 2025 revenue at $50 billion, Red Bull still owns no factories. Nearly all production is outsourced, freeing up resources for an annual marketing budget that exceeds $3 billion. Every dollar is targeted, with spending calibrated to reinforce Red Bull's presence in the places that matter, whether that means sponsoring a world record skydive, launching a new extreme sports tournament, or supporting underground music festivals. Red Bull's leadership doesn't see marketing as a separate function. It's the core product. Music is one of the pillars of this strategy. The Red Bull Music Academy has become a fixture in the industry, providing studio space to emerging artists in cities from Berlin to Los Angeles. These musicians receive support and exposure in exchange for subtle brand integration, mentions in interviews, event appearances, or credits on released tracks. Red Bull doesn't try to monetize music directly. Instead, it amplifies the brand's influence by connecting with tastemakers and trendsetters. In 2024, over 120 charting singles included organic references to Red Bull, a testament to how deeply the brand has embedded itself in the creative process. Sports are another core strand. Red Bull's ownership of events and entire legs gives it control over everything, from the rules to the broadcast rights. The Cliff Diving World Series and Crashed Ice tournaments aren't just sponsored, they're Red Bull properties, run and promoted by the company itself. This vertical integration means competitors can't simply buy their way into the same space. Athletes under contract are more than endorsers. They're required to generate content, participate in branded events, and serve as public faces of the company. The result is a steady stream of authentic, high-impact material that feeds the Red Bull content engine. The digital landscape is the third leg of the strategy. Red Bull's Esports division goes beyond sponsorship, providing branded housing, streaming infrastructure, and production support for top players. Every moment in these gaming compounds can be captured, edited, and distributed across platforms, generating documentaries, tutorials, and live streams. A single professional gamer in Red Bull's network might produce hundreds of hours of branded content each year, all while simply going about their daily routine. What ties these efforts together is a system that turns every interaction into data. Red Bull tracks which events, streams, or experiences convert casual drinkers into loyal customers. This information shapes future campaigns, allowing the company to refine its approach in real time. The company's asset-light manufacturing model supports this flexibility. Without factories or warehouses to manage, Red Bull can move quickly, shifting resources to whatever part of the ecosystem offers the most leverage. Legal and intellectual property strategies help protect these advantages. Red Bull patents small design tweaks, like the shape of a kintab or the groove on a cap, not to guard groundbreaking inventions, but to create legal barriers for competitors. When rival brands attempt to mimic Red Bull's products, these patents provide a basis for quick legal action, discouraging copycats and maintaining the brand's distinctiveness. Synergies across divisions drive further innovation. Data from Formula One telemetry informs improvements in design and distribution logistics. Techniques developed in music studio soundproofing show up in Red Bull's branded headphones. Even failed engineering projects, like an unused landing leg from a space capsule, can inspire new products or merchandising solutions. Red Bull's system is designed to extract value from every experiment, regardless of the original goal. Content is the glue that holds the playbook together. Red Bull TV streams niche sports and documentaries that would never make it to mainstream networks, building credibility and loyalty among fans who crave something different. The company values time over reach, tracking how long viewers engage rather than just counting clicks. A documentary that keeps people watching for an hour is worth more than a viral ad that gets skipped in seconds. Localization is another strength. In Brazil, Red Bull invests heavily in mobile gaming tournaments. In Japan, it's street skateboarding. In Austria, it's winter sports. This flexibility allows the brand to dominate overlooked niches while maintaining global consistency in its broader campaigns. The next phase for Red Bull is about connecting these different parts even more tightly. Plans are underway for programs that link music, sports, and gaming into a single membership system, rewarding participation across touchpoints with exclusive content and perks. The aim isn't just to drive sales, but to make the brand an essential part of consumers' daily routines. Red Bull's ability to adapt and integrate new trends keeps it ahead of competitors. The company's playbook is less about defending territory and more about expanding into new domains as soon as they become relevant. This mindset has allowed Red Bull to stay at the leading edge of marketing, technology, and culture, always looking for new ways to reinforce its presence. As the company looks forward, it's clear that Red Bull won't settle for traditional approaches. The next chapter will be shaped by emerging technologies and shifting consumer expectations, setting the stage for a new wave of innovation. The future of Red Bull. Looking ahead, Red Bull's future is shaped by a steady stream of practical innovation and a relentless focus on embedding the brand deeper into daily life. Instead of chasing every new technology for its own sake, Red Bull refines what works, iterating on ideas that connect the product to experiences people actually want. The company's next phase isn't about wild speculation, but about building on proven strategies, specialized products, event creation, and the constant evolution of how the brand interacts with its audience. Recent years have seen Red Bull expand its product formats to fit more situations. The original can remains the anchor, but energy shots and powders now reach customers in places where cans never could. Shots are designed for quick access, whether you're an athlete, a commuter, or someone who just wants a discreet boost. Powders make it possible to carry energy anywhere, with single-serve packets that dissolve in water. These aren't just packaging tweaks, they're a response to real shifts in how people live, work, and play. Each format is engineered for a specific context, whether it's a marathon, a mountain climb, or a late-night study session. Red Bull's ongoing investment in event creation continues to set it apart. The company doesn't just sponsor competitions, it invents them, controls the format, and owns the narrative. Events like Flugtag, Rampage, and the Cliff Diving World Series are more than marketing. They're cultural moments that generate their own stories, footage, and communities. Every new event is a test bed for ideas, from athlete partnerships to broadcast techniques. Red Bull uses these platforms to experiment with new product launches, gather feedback, and refine its approach in real time. The events themselves become part of the product, with attendees and viewers associating the brand with excitement, challenge, and achievement. Media production remains a core strength. Red Bull Media House continues to generate thousands of hours of content each year, spanning live broadcasts, documentaries, and athlete profiles. The focus isn't just on quantity, but on relevance, content that resonates with specific audiences, whether that's extreme sports fans, gamers, or music lovers. The company's approach to content is adaptive, using data to identify what works and shifting resources toward formats and stories that drive engagement. Licensing and syndication of Red Bull's original footage ensure the brand remains visible across platforms, with every clip reinforcing the connection between brand and experience. The physical product itself evolves in response to feedback from athletes and consumers. Red Bull has developed specialized cans for different needs, slim cans for portability, larger formats for sharing, and resealable designs for use during training or travel. Each change is driven by practical concerns: how to keep the drink cold longer, how to make it easier to open with gloves, how to reduce waste. These incremental improvements don't make headlines, but they keep the product relevant as habits and expectations shift. Red Bull's control over its supply chain and manufacturing partners allows it to move quickly. When new opportunities arise, such as a surge in demand for a specific flavor or format, the company can adjust production without the burden of owning factories. This flexibility supports rapid experimentation, letting Red Bull test new ideas in select markets before rolling them out globally. The asset-light approach frees up resources for marketing, event production, and content creation, reinforcing the cycle that powers the brand's growth. What stands out is how Red Bull keeps the focus on the brand, not the beverage. The drink itself is almost generic, a blend of caffeine, sugar, and vitamins that could be replicated by any number of companies. What makes Red Bull different is everything built around the can: the events, the athletes, the content, and the sense of belonging that comes with being part of the brand's world. Red Bull's product is less about what's inside the can, and more about what the can represents: a ticket to a lifestyle defined by energy, risk, and achievement. This approach shows no signs of slowing down. Red Bull continues to look for new ways to connect with audiences, whether through emerging sports, evolving media platforms, or new formats that make energy more accessible. The company's ability to adapt, experiment, and embed itself in the fabric of culture remains its greatest strength. As Red Bull moves forward, the question isn't whether the drink will change, but how the brand will keep shaping the world around it. The product is just the entry point. What matters is the story, the image, and the feeling that Red Bull delivers, no matter where or how it appears. Red Bull's rise to a $50 billion powerhouse shows that the real value isn't in the drink, but in the world built around it. The company doesn't just sell an energy boost, they offer access to a universe of extreme sports, record-breaking stunts, and cultural events. Manufacturing stays in the background, while Red Bull's focus remains on making the brand ever present, from mountain peaks to music stages. Every high-profile event, from the stratosphere jump to global competitions, is crafted to keep Red Bull at the center of attention. As the company continues to invent new ways to connect with its audience, the question isn't about what's in the can, it's about what Red Bull will do next to capture the world's imagination.